Every hero has a past, but some are darker than others. They're etched not in stone, but in the heart, a constant, heavy echo of what was lost, of who was lost. For this knight, the past wasn't a memory, it was a prison. The weight of his failures pressed down on him, a shroud of regret that kept him far from the world he once vowed to protect. His armor, once gleaming, now sat gathering dust in the shadows, a monument to his shame. He sought solitude, not for peace, but for punishment, convinced he was unworthy of the light. The days bled into one another, each dawn a fresh reminder of the darkness he carried within. He was a knight no more, just a man haunted by the ghosts of his own making. But the world has a way of refusing to let you hide. A frantic hammering on his door shattered the silence. A young villager, eyes wide with terror, breath coming in ragged gasps. "Please," he stammered, "you have to help us. They've come back." Whispers of peril had finally found him, piercing the walls he'd built around his heart. The boy spoke of shadows that crept in at dusk, of screams that went unanswered, of a fear so cold it froze the very air. The village of Oakhaven, a place the knight had deliberately forgotten, was on the brink of annihilation. He tried to refuse, to send the boy away. The name Oakhaven was a knife in his gut. It was the site of his greatest failure, the place where his shield and his honor had been shattered. The boy's words painted a grim picture. Oakhaven, a village nestled in a valley, known for its warm hearths and simple kindness, was now a portrait of despair. He described homes turned to ash, fields trampled, and a silence that was more terrifying than any scream. He spoke of the villagers, their faces etched with a desperate, hollow fear. These were good people, farmers, weavers, children who had known nothing but peace. They were defenseless against the encroaching darkness, a force that seemed to feed on their terror. The boy explained that the village elder, a wise woman named Alara, had sent him. She remembered a knight from long ago, a knight who had once faltered, but whose heart, she believed, was still true. "She said you were our only hope," the boy pleaded, his voice cracking. "She said even a shattered shield can still protect." The words hung in the air, a desperate last resort faith placed in a man who had lost all faith in himself. The cost of inaction was clear. Oakhaven would be wiped from memory, its people lost to the shadows, and another failure would be added to the knight's soul. He looked at his hands, hands that had failed to protect the innocent before. Could they do so now? The boy's desperate hope was a spark in the knight's long, dark night. Every instinct screamed at him to stay hidden, to let the past remain buried. But the image of burning homes, of innocent people suffering, was a torment he couldn't ignore. This wasn't a call to glory. It was a chance, however slim, to silence the ghosts that screamed his name. He rose, the rustle of old leather a sound unheard in years. He took up his dented helmet, his worn sword belt. He was returning not as a hero, but as a penitent, marching toward the very ground that held his deepest shame. The path to atonement had begun. His arrival in Oakhaven was met not with cheers, but with suspicion. The older villagers remembered him. They remembered the fire, the screams, the day their defenses broke. Their eyes were cold, their whispers sharp. The broken knight, one muttered. What good can he do now? He didn't defend himself. He knew their distrust was earned. His first act wasn't a grand gesture, but a small one. A group of raiders, scavengers drawn by the chaos, were attempting to steal the village's last food stores. The knight moved with a speed that surprised them, disarming them with swift, precise movements. Not of anger, but of grim efficiency. He didn't harm them, merely drove them off. His silent message clear: the weak would not be preyed upon here. It was a small trial, but it was enough to plant a seed of doubt in the villagers' skepticism. Perhaps the shattered shield could still serve a purpose. As he worked to fortify the village's defenses, every splintered plank of wood, every length of rope, was a confrontation with his past. A flashback, sharp and unwelcome. The sound of a barricade splintering, just like this one, years ago. His hesitation then had cost lives. He slammed the hammer down, his jaw tight. This time would be different. He saw a child crying, her face smudged with soot. And for a moment he saw another child's face from that terrible day, one he couldn't save. He knelt, offering the girl a piece of bread he'd saved, his voice softer than he thought possible. "We will not let the shadows take you." He was facing his inner demons, not by running, but by meeting them head-on in the frightened eyes of the people he now sought to protect. Each act of service was a strike against the specter of his failure, his resolve hardening into a new kind of steel. As twilight fell, the true threat emerged from the mists. It was no mere band of brigands. A horde of grotesque, twisted creatures born of shadow and malice shambled toward the village. Their eyes glowed with an unnatural light, and their guttural growls were a symphony of pure hatred. This was the ancient curse Alara had feared, a blight that had returned to claim the land. The stakes had been raised from mere survival to a battle against an unholy evil. The villagers gasped in horror, their newfound hope threatening to crumble into dust. But the knight stood firm before them, his sword drawn. He was no longer the broken man who had arrived in Oakhaven. He didn't charge blindly. He used the village's layout, the traps he'd set, the narrow alleys. He was a strategist, a protector. He moved not with the fury of a berserker, but with the focused grace of a guardian. He parried a claw that would have eviscerated a villager, blocked a torrent of dark energy with his battered shield, and guided the small militia with calm, clear commands. He was everywhere at once, a bulwark against the tide of darkness. This was not a fight for glory. It was a demonstration of growth, of tactical valor born from the lessons of a painful past. His every move was a selfless act of protection, his own safety an afterthought. The climactic moment arrived as the monstrous leader of the horde, a towering beast of shadow, and bone broke through the main gate, heading straight for the great hall where the children and elderly were hidden. The knight met it head-on, alone. This was his decisive stand, the culmination of his journey. In the clash of steel against shadow, he was not just fighting a monster. He was fighting his own regret, his own fear, putting everything he was on the line for a single, desperate chance at redemption. The battle was brutal. But as dawn broke, the monstrous beast lay defeated, dissolving into nothingness. The remaining creatures, their leader vanquished, scurried back into the shadows from whence they came. A profound silence fell over the village, broken only by the first tentative rays of sunlight. The villagers slowly emerged, their faces a mixture of exhaustion, disbelief, and overwhelming relief. They looked at the knight, standing bruised and bloodied but unbroken, his battered shield held firm. The whispers of broken night were gone, replaced by quiet, earned respect. No grand feast was held, no songs were sung of his glory. Instead, Alara approached him, placing a gentle hand on his arm. "Thank you," she said, her voice filled with a gratitude deeper than any celebration. In that simple moment of acceptance, the knight felt the heavy chains of regret finally begin to loosen. He didn't leave. He stayed, helping to rebuild the homes, mend the fences, and replant the fields. He didn't seek a title or a reward. He had found something far more valuable: peace. A new purpose had taken root in his heart. Not the quest for fame, but the quiet dedication to protecting the weak. He was a guardian, his past not erased, but integrated into who he had become, a source of wisdom and strength. His journey was a testament that our past mistakes do not have to define our future. One evening, as he watched the children play in the rebuilt village square, a young girl, the same one he had comforted, shyly offered him a small, hand-carved wooden shield. He accepted it with a gentle smile. True redemption isn't a destination you arrive at, a single heroic deed that wipes the slate clean. It's an ongoing promise. It's the choice you make every single day to be better than you were yesterday. It's the quiet resolve to keep fighting, not for applause, but for the simple, profound act of doing good. And in the heart of that quiet village, the knight had found his. Thank you so much for watching this story unfold. If it resonated with you, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more tales of courage and redemption. Your support means the world. Until next time.